Okay, you guys, today I'm very excited to talk to you about a topic that's very controversial, and I've had to deal with it myself when I was dating, and that is precisely the balance between transparency. How much do you share? How much do you tell your partner? How much do you demand from your partner? And privacy. What should be off limits? How much should you really tell? For example, what is the right thing to do if one partner wants access to the other's phone, social media, or email accounts in the name of transparency, openness, and building trust, while the other feels it violates their sense of privacy? Should one partner be allowed to check the other's messages, social media DMs? Is keeping a private journal or deleting messages inherently suspicious and wrong? Does wanting to have your private space wrong? How about this? One partner has a close relationship with someone of the opposite sex and they're friends and they go out and hang out and have their own relationship that they claim platonic, and the other partner perceives it as a threat and therefore wants full details, full disclosure about the interactions they have. Should one partner share every conversation or every detail of that outing? Is it reasonable to keep certain topics private in these friendships? Here's my favorite. A partner wants to know details about the other's past relationships, including the number of sexual partners, what kinds of things they did together, if they had someone in the past they liked better, etc. Should that information be disclosed? What if one partner struggles with something internally, like doubts, fears, or insecurities, and doesn't feel ready to share, but the other senses something is wrong and keeps pushing them to share? Should one partner always inform the other about family secrets or conflicts? Or are there boundaries that should remain within each family? So we have a ton to discuss today. We'll explore these questions and a lot more and look into several ways to think about these things to help you decide how far you should go with either privacy or transparency. And yes, at the end, I will tell you where I personally stand on the issue, and I'll tell you why. First, let's see what proponents of transparency have to say. To them, they argue that openness is the cornerstone of trust. By sharing your thoughts and feelings and experiences, partners gain a deep sense of connection and mutual understanding. Transparency supposedly eliminates the potential for misunderstandings, miscommunications, and even misconduct. Basically, people argue that unless someone is watching over your shoulder, you can be trusted to remain honest. When individuals are open about their actions and decisions, they're more likely to act responsibly. That's what they say. Transparency can prevent deceit and hidden agendas, prompting a healthier and more honest relationship dynamic. The key idea of transparency for accountability, let's say, is if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. You've heard that before, right? Some see transparency as a pathway to emotional intimacy. So sharing vulnerabilities and personal experiences can lead to a strong emotional bond and create a safe space where the partners in a relationship will feel more valued, understood, and safe to be themselves. On the other hand, advocates of the right to privacy in relationships emphasize the importance of individual autonomy. Each person in a relationship is a distinct individual with their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. So, respecting privacy means acknowledging and honoring this individuality, which can prevent feelings of suffocating and loss of self-identity. So then, the key idea behind protecting your privacy is that privacy is a basic human need and a universal right. That means everybody has that right. Privacy is essential for setting and maintaining healthy boundaries, and boundaries are crucial for personal well-being and mental health. We all know the value of having good boundaries. By respecting each other's privacy, partners ensure that they're not overstepping or infringing upon each other's personal space, which is vital for balanced and respectful relationships. Often I see people demanding transparency, but also promoting boundaries. They can't see that these two things are not inherently perfectly matching. They're in opposite directions. So if you value your boundaries, it means you value your privacy, which means you can't demand transparency 100% from the other person. It makes you a hypocrite. Another argument in favor of maintaining privacy is the prevention of over-dependence. While emotional support and connection are important, being overly transparent sometimes leads to an unhealthy dependency. Like people are just like clinging to each other. Maintaining a degree of privacy, though, allows individuals to retain their independence and self-reliance. Not all people have good intentions, so sometimes a partner may push for transparency in order to control and manipulate the other person. By constantly being in their beeswax and learning stuff they can use for leverage later, or to demean and erode their self-confidence and self-reliance on purpose. So maintaining boundaries and degree of privacy could literally save you from a lot of trouble. So there are obviously good arguments on both sides. I certainly have friends and clients in these two opposing camps. I've seen both the success and friction in their relationships. So I lean more in the direction of the middle ground. So this middle ground view argues that transparency and privacy should be negotiated based on the situation and the nature of the relationship. There's even a term for it. There's a term for everything. Contextual transparency. It says that, just what it sounds, the level of openness and transparency is determined by the context and the nature of the information being shared. This means being transparent about significant matters while respecting privacy in less critical areas seems like a good plan. Also, being mindful in areas that are sensitive to the other person, like trauma and shame and places they feel insecure and they're now ready to go into. Let's look at an example of how the middle ground, contextual transparency, plays out in an actual scenario. So here's a scenario. Emma and Liam have been dating for 3 years. So these are clients and recently decided to move in together. So they're discussing how to manage their shared finances, including rent, utilities, groceries, life. Emma believes they should be fully transparent about their incomes, spending habits, and savings. Liam agrees to an extent, but feels uncomfortable sharing details about his separate savings account, which he's been using to fund the personal goal of starting a business. So here's the dilemma they face. Emma sees full financial transparency as a sign of trust and commitment, especially since they'll be splitting expenses. She worries that Liam's reluctance to share these details means he doesn't trust her or isn't fully committed to their shared future. So Liam, on the other hand, values his financial independence and believes he should be allowed to keep some aspects of his financial life totally private. How did they resolve it? Contextual transparency wise. After discussing their perspectives, eventually Emma and Liam agreed on their version of the middle ground, which is they'll fully disclose all financial details related to their shared expenses, such as income contributions for rent and bills, so they have like a joint account where they put this money in there. Liam agrees to let Emma know he's saving for a business goal, but retains the right to keep the specific amount in his separate account private and not give her access to that account. Emma acknowledges that transparency in this context means openness about shared responsibilities, not everything, every single financial detail. As a result, both partners feel heard and respected by tailoring the level of transparency to their particular situation, focusing on shared responsibilities while allowing some wiggle room for individual autonomy. And they find a balance that totally works for their relationship. Often, cultural norms and religious teachings shape beliefs about privacy and transparency, what should be what in a relationship. So, if two people come from different backgrounds, they may seriously clash on this point and have separate, completely different, and contradictory expectations of each other. Also, it deserves mentioning that different attachment styles will have vastly different needs for privacy and transparency. For example, a securely attached person will naturally balance the need for privacy and for transparency because they're securely attached. They can have both. That person is not likely to push for access to personal information. It's also not likely to deny it if their partner feels insecure. However, a person with an avoidant attachment style will likely prioritize independence and privacy, while an anxious person will value transparency over privacy at any time. So you can see the contradictions. If you want to know more about attachment styles, check out this video. I'll also put a link down below in the description. Before I tell you my personal stance, I'm curious about which side of the debate do you fall on? What is your experience in your relationships? Let me know in the comments. Let's have a conversation going. Also, give me a like if the video resonates with you so far. And subscribe, please, to help me reach 1,000 subscribers. It just feels like a big number. I'm pretty close. I appreciate you. Thank you. Personally, I'm more of a pragmatic. I think every couple needs to negotiate that balance and find what works for them. And every couple is different and has a different history. In couples with a history of infidelity, actual proven infidelity, because of the diminished trust, more transparency will help. I don't mean blanket transparency about everything, but definitely transparency in the context of relationships with other people. It will probably feel uncomfortable to the partner who has to defend their trustworthiness, but it's a price they must decide if they want to pay to rebuild the trust in the relationship. Honestly, I don't think trust is ever fully rebuilt. There will always be the memory of the transgression in the other person's mind. It also depends on that partner to forgive and decide if they can live with a degree of uncertainty. It's definitely not an easy situation. Everyone needs to figure themselves out and how much they can tolerate and do their own cost benefit analysis of the relationship to decide if it is worth it. When it comes to personal past experiences predating the relationship, I'm a firm believer in don't ask, don't tell. There is no reason to snoop into someone's past. They've been where they've been. They've lived through whatever they've lived through. They chose you and are with you. That's all that matters. Everyone makes mistakes and has things in the past they're not proud of. Why put them on the spot and cause them discomfort just because you're curious or insecure? Bad idea. They will only resent you for it. I'd say your insecurity and need for transparency do not automatically obligate the other person to disclose anything about themselves that they don't want to. It might be a good idea for them to do so, depending on the situation, but not always. Definitely do not ask them to count their past sexual partners. How knowing this is going to help you have a better relationship? Besides, how do you know they'll tell you the truth? Chances are, if they see you as a jealous type or too snoopy, they'll just tell you what you want to hear, not necessarily the truth. The whole thing is none of your business, and the information is likely to be unreliable. So why bother? Are you just trying to pick a fight or stroke your ego? What are you trying to do? I can't think of a single good reason to ask your partner about that. I believe people are allowed to have secrets as long as these secrets do not affect their current partner directly. Infidelity in the present is not a good secret to have, but being sexually abused in the past might be, at least until enough trust is built to talk about it. It may take some time, but the person has to be ready to talk about it. I think every piece of sensitive information needs to be looked at on its own merits, and that partner has the right to decide to disclose it or not when they feel comfortable. Furthermore, relationship experts warn that too much transparency actually kills romance, because romance needs some mystery, some magic. If someone is too open and too obvious or too dependent, we stop liking them because we stop being interested in them. The adventure of this person is totally gone. They're just like a book you've already read cover to cover, and that's it. They become too predictable. It's kind of like seeing someone in their underwear is somehow sexier than seeing them totally naked, which is why the lingerie shops thrive. Privacy also nurtures self-reflection. Reporting on everything happening with you to your partner only gets you the other person's opinion and perspective back at you. Remember, not everyone is a great listener reflecting back on your thoughts. Partners should share when it strengthens the relationship or aids in mutual understanding, but not at the cost of personal growth or independence. That's my opinion. Because relationships are dynamic and constantly evolving, it's also important to periodically reassess the balance between those two things, transparency and privacy. Regular check-ins and open discussions can help partners totally adjust accordingly to however their life is changing and what it needs. regarding the debate of demanding full access to your partner's phone, social media, and emails. I don't think that's right unless they totally volunteer without you asking them. You can't or you shouldn't demand any access. It's their space. You need to ask yourself why you want it. Are you so insecure, trying to control what the other person does? I get it. You want to play knowing the exact hand your partner is holding, but that's not how real life works. There's always a degree of uncertainty. Even if you knew everything you wanted to know, remember, if a person wants to go around your rules, they can. If someone really wanted to hide something, they'll find a way, even though you have access to all their stuff. At least to the stuff you know about. They could have a separate phone, a separate email account. They can have a separate social media profile you know nothing about. Just out there. You don't know anything about it. On the other hand, if you're too secretive with your stuff and overly protective, what do you have to hide? I've never asked for access to my partner's account. I don't really want to see all the minutiae, but once I was suspicious that the guy I was dating had something funny going on because of the way he acted, like hiding himself when texting and so on. If you know your partner, if you pay attention to how people behave, you can always feel when something is off. So I asked him if he's got something going on that I wouldn't appreciate. He declined it. Of course he'll decline it, but the strange behavior continued. So one time when he left his phone while taking a shower, I snuck a peek, and sure enough, right there, front and center, all the incriminating evidence I needed. I never told him what I found out. It was a confirmation of my intuition. I just broke up with the guy shortly after and told him I didn't trust him, so there you go. And there were other things about him, so I was gonna break up with him anyway. It just kind of sped up the process a little bit. I'm not telling you should do what I did. This is a tricky one. I wouldn't like it if someone got into my stuff without permission, so I actually don't think I should have done it. And I don't recommend you going around doing it either. This is a form of privacy violation. Definitely privacy violation offense. I would have still broken up with the guy. I couldn't trust him anyway, even without this proof, so maybe I just needed one extra push or something. I also knew that I was going to break up with the guy, so I kind of lowered my standards for my own behavior. At the same time, my respect for him had already tanked, so it made it easy to take the easy way out to rationalize the behavior. Again, I don't recommend you snoop without permission. The thing with these kinds of people is that they will show you in more than one way that you can't trust them. So you don't necessarily need all the gory details or to do something sneaky to get proof. If you can't trust them, you shouldn't be with them. Period. End of story. My advice is to think long and hard about how you feel about providing access to your stuff to your partner. Not everyone has anything against it. I know couples who have been married for longer than I've been alive and who share everything. They even have one email account. They have no passwords on their phones and frequently answer each other's phones. So you never know who you're going to get, no matter which one you call. It's silly, but it is what it is. It seems to work for them. I don't know the reasons why the arrangement is as is, but if it works for them, who am I to say anything about it? Basically, everyone needs to know themselves. If you do not want to provide access to share information that you're not comfortable sharing, just don't do it. Figure out why not. Figure out how it will affect your relationship. If you're really hiding something that's going against your partner's commitment to you, then you're totally lame. You can't claim privacy protection only when you want to hide your transgressions. It makes you a rotten person. This is why this is an ongoing debate. There are no exact measurements and rules about how much privacy versus how much transparency we should have in relationships. The debate between transparency and the right to privacy is obviously complex and multifaceted. Both sides offer valid points that can contribute to a healthy and fulfilling relationship. Ultimately, the key lies in finding the balance that works for you guys, allowing you and your partner to build trust and intimacy while respecting each other's individuality and boundaries. So by embracing a flexible and communicative approach, couples navigate the debate and look for balance and create strong, resilient relationships every day. What do you think? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and give me the thumbs up so YouTube knows this video is worth watching and shows it to others. Also, buy me a coffee if you feel inclined. This channel is not monetized, so I will definitely appreciate it. Below is the link for that and links for other videos and resources you may like. Good luck to you all. See you next time.